South Central is divided into two main regions, the West Side and the East Side. Both areas are home to a wide variety of gangs, including numerous Crip sets, Bloods, and others, making South Central one of the most heavily gang-populated regions in the country, with over 100 different gangs and thousands of members. The roots of South Central stretch all the way back to the 1800s. In the early 1900s, it was considered a desirable, upscale area, largely white and well-developed. Infrastructure was built to support the white population, including institutions like USC and St. Mary's College, as well as the construction of the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. African Americans. However, by the 1940s, small numbers of African Americans began moving into the area. This demographic shift was met with hostility from many white residents, and the black community was restricted to living in designated areas such as Main Street, Slauson Avenue, Washington Boulevard, and Watts. During the Great Depression and World War II, large numbers of working and middle-class African Americans migrated to Los Angeles in search of better opportunities. However, they were often confined to overcrowded neighborhoods, as housing discrimination remained rampant. To address these issues, the Los Angeles Housing Authority built several public housing projects for black residents, including Jordan Downs, Nickerson Gardens, and Imperial Courts, among others. In 1948, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that race-based housing restrictions could no longer be legally enforced. This allowed black families to move into previously white-dominated areas. However, their presence triggered a wave of racial violence, including bombings, drive-by shootings, and burning crosses placed on their newly purchased homes. Despite these efforts to drive them out, the black community remained, and by the 1950s, white flight had begun, with many white families leaving South Central altogether. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, South Central experienced a wave of job losses as industries and markets that had previously provided stable, union-based employment began to collapse. This economic downturn led to widespread poverty and disenfranchisement in black communities, not only in South Central, but across the country. The rise in poverty led to an increase in youth violence and the formation of street gangs. Among the first to emerge were the Crips, Bloods, and Pirates. These groups, initially localized, eventually expanded into other neighborhoods, cities, and states. In South Central, both the East Side and West Side saw the emergence of Crip sets. The Crips rapidly grew in power, outnumbering smaller gangs and dominating most predominantly black neighborhoods in Los Angeles. In response, several rival gangs banded together to form the Blood Alliance, seeking to resist Crip dominance. Throughout the 1970s, hundreds of new gang sets formed under the Crip and Blood banners. However, internal conflicts also developed. Crips didn't just clash with Bloods, they fought among themselves, as various sets developed bitter rivalries, resulting in some of the most notorious street wars in Los Angeles history. By the late 1970s, Los Angeles, especially South Central, had become one of the most dangerous cities in America. With the explosion of the drug trade in the 1980s, gang violence escalated dramatically. The combination of gang wars and narcotics trafficking pushed the murder rate to over 1,000 homicides per year during some of the deadliest years on record. South Central became ground zero for a gang epidemic that would shape the identity, politics, and culture of Los Angeles for decades to come. Over the years, South Central has been the focus of countless police raids, gang injunctions, and law enforcement crackdowns, all aimed at bringing down gang activity. In 2002, the city even officially changed the name from South Central to South Los Angeles in an effort to rebrand the area. More recently, the city has pushed hard to gentrify parts of South LA, yet despite these efforts, gang activity remains high to this day. Black P Stones. The Black P Stones, a Blood-affiliated gang, were founded over 50 years ago and have become one of the most respected Blood sets in Los Angeles. The name Black P Stones, or simply BPS, was brought to LA by an OG named T. Rogers, who came from Chicago, where the P Stones originally began. In LA, BPS split into two main sets, the Biddy and the Jungles. The Jungles gained national recognition after the movie Training Day, starring Denzel Washington, was filmed there. Today, the area has become a tourist stop, with people even taking hood tours through the neighborhood. In recent years, BPS has made waves in the rap scene, largely due to the Baby Stone Gorillas, a controversial group known for dissing multiple rival gangs in their music. BPS maintains strong alliances with other blood sets, including the Rollin 20 Neighborhood Bloods, the Brims, and especially the Fruittown Brims. They've even found temporary truces with some traditional rivals to focus on shared enemies, such as the Playboy gangster Crips and Hoovers. But BPS also has long-standing rivalries, especially with several neighborhood Crip sets, including the West Boulevard Crips, Rollin 30s, Rollin 40s, and Schoolyard Crips. Rollin 20 Neighborhood Bloods, the 20s, as they're often called, have been around for decades and are one of the deepest blood sets in South Central. They've stood their ground against powerful rivals like the Rollin 30s and Rollin 40 Crips, and they share many of the same enemies as BPS, particularly the Schoolyard Crips and West Boulevard Crips. The 20s are allied with the 20 Outlaw Bloods on the east side, as well as with the Brims and BPS. The Brims. The Brims are made up of several sets, with three main ones: the Fruittown Brims, Harvard Park Brims, and Van Ness Gangster Brims, VNG or VNGS. Fruittown Brims are closely aligned with the Bloods mentioned earlier and have been in a long-standing war with the Rollin 30s, who are considered their top enemy. Like BPS, they also beef with gangs tied to Neighborhood Crip card. Recently, the USC expansion has heavily impacted their territory. New development and rising rents have pushed many residents out, reducing some of the violence in the area. VNGS, Van Ness Gangster Brims, take their name from Van Ness Avenue. They are rivals of multiple neighborhood Crip sets, including the Rollin 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Notably, rapper Joe Moses hails from this area. Harvard Park Brims are considered the most active Brim set and have played a major role in keeping the Brim identity alive on the streets of LA. They share the same alliances and enemies as the other Brim sets. West Boulevard Crips. The West Boulevard Crips are a West Side gang known for their heavy conflicts with blood sets. Their main enemies include the Rollin 20 Bloods, Brims, and BPS. On the other hand, they are allies of several neighborhood Crip sets, including the Rollin 30s, 40s, and 60s. Rollin 30 Harlem Crips. The Rollin 30s, originally known as the Harlem Godfathers, trace their roots back to the 1960s. OGs like Big James Miller helped make them a powerhouse set in Los Angeles. Though not officially part of the neighborhood Crips, they maintain strong ties with other Rollin sets, from the 30s to the 100s. In recent years, they've made their name in the rap world, too. Artists like Kiki Boko and ASM Bobster, who is known for dissing Bloods in his music. ASM itself is a diss acronym, have carried their flag into the music industry. Their main rivals include the BPS, Rollin 20 Bloods, Brims, and the Hoovers. At one point, they even had a brief internal war with the Rollin 40s, their former allies. Rollin 40 Neighborhood Crips. The Rollin 40s are part of the larger Neighborhood Crip Alliance and are made up of four primary cliques, including the Avenues and Western Side Park. They continue to play a dominant role on the West Side and remain a major force in South Central gang politics. The dark side of South Central. Hoover Street and gang territories. The dark side clique operates primarily around Hoover Street, an area that was once considered the turf of Trey Hoover. Today, however, it's largely dominated by the Rollin 40s, who have taken over the territory. The Rollin 40s neighborhood Crips are heavily involved in conflicts with nearby gangs such as the Rollin 20 Bloods, Black P, Stones, BPS, Brims, the Trouble Gangster Crips, and, unsurprisingly, the Hoovers themselves. The 40s have also experienced internal warfare with their usual allies, like the Rollin 30s and Rollin 60s, leading to frequent back-and-forth shootings between sets that were once united under the neighborhood Crip card. Current rappers from the Rollin 40s area include X4, known for calling out rival gangs in his music. He's even dissed the Rollin 60s and took jabs at Nipsey Hussle in an older track released over 6 years ago. Rollin 50 Neighborhood Crips. The Rollin 50s are made up of several smaller cliques that operate under the Rollin 50 umbrella, including the 55, 57, and 58 Neighborhood Crips. Originally, the 55 started as hustlers before transitioning into Crips. By the 1990s, all three groups had officially become part of the Neighborhood Crip Alliance. The 50s are allied with other sets under the neighborhood card, but their primary rivals include the Brims, the Hoovers, and several others. Recently, they've gained attention due to their connection with rapper C-Mac, a controversial figure with ties to the 55 neighborhood Crips.